Let's talk about what to eat while you're breastfeeding. What you eat just before, during, and after pregnancy will determine your child's future health. I think this point is just not emphasized enough. It is so vitally important that that child gets all the right nutrients while they're developing. So let's just start at defining what a nutrient is, okay? Nutrients are cofactors. Now, that really doesn't help you because what is a cofactor? A cofactor are helper compounds, natural helper things that are essential for building proteins, okay? Now, in your mind, you might be thinking proteins as hair, nails, skin, muscle, but we want to extend that definition way beyond that. All the enzymes in your body that create all the digestion and the biochemical reactions are proteins. Most of the hormones are proteins. You have proteins that carry cholesterol, as in high density lipoproteins or low density lipoproteins like HDL and LDL. That's protein. Hemoglobin, the stuff in your blood that helps you carry oxygen, is protein. You have proteins that repair the tissues, that extend your life, that repair the DNA, which are the blueprints of the body. You have proteins that protect the cell against harmful things. You have your entire immune system is protein that protects against microbes and viruses. You have proteins that are like a mini copy machine for DNA, the blueprints. You have proteins that are proofreaders that help to look for errors and go in there and actually fix errors in your DNA. It's incredible. You have proteins that help you detoxify harmful chemicals. So you need all these nutrients involving in all these different actions right here. All the pumps in the body that pump the fluid in and out of the cells. So the cellular machinery that produces energy, called the mitochondria, has certain nutrients that it needs. If the growing fetus or infant is deficient in nutrients, that child could have all sorts of malfunctions with bone, okay? Their bone structure will not come out correct. They will not be as tall. The shape of their jaw could be malformed, where they have an overbite or an underbite. The teeth will be missing, crooked. You'll get cavities. They'll need braces. They'll be very susceptible to getting sick because their immune system will be suppressed. They could have mental or physical disabilities, a lower IQ, just from having a nutritional deficiency. They could be at risk for diabetes, ADD, asthma, and even cancer. So you can see the importance of these nutrients in the early stages. Now, how does a mother know that she's deficient? Well, I would look at it the other way. I would basically start eating the foods that are very high in those nutrients and not get hung up on certain blood tests, because a lot of these nutrients are inside the cell, not in the blood. They're intracellular and they're hard to detect. You could identify nutritional deficiencies by certain cravings you have. For example, if you crave clay, for example, that could mean that you have an iron deficiency. If you crave pickles, it could mean that you are deficient in potassium. If you're fatigued, you could be deficient in iron, vitamin B1, or even vitamin K2. If you have no tolerance to stress, you could be deficient in vitamin B1. If you have no endurance and you run out of gas all the time, that could mean that you need more magnesium. So now let's talk about some of the really important nutrients that are essential in developing this infant. Selenium, very, very important, because selenium is involved in making sure mercury doesn't build up in the body from the environment. Now, even if that child gets vaccinated, which I have my whole viewpoint on that, I don't want to open a can of worms, but they're going to be exposed to mercury. Selenium can help counter mercury. Selenium is also involved in the conversion of the thyroid hormones from T4 to T3. Selenium is a very powerful antioxidant. Then you have iodine. Iodine is very important in boosting the IQ and the growth of that child. If there is a deficiency in iodine, that child's going to be shorter and they're going to have a lower IQ. The B vitamins, Very, very important in developing a healthy heart, developing a healthy brain, involved in so many different chemical reactions, and also the skin as well. Folate. You probably heard about this one. If a child is deficient in folate, they can get something called neural tube defects, where the nervous system does not form correctly and part of the spinal column is exposed. This is such an easy thing to fix. And folate comes from the Greek foliage, which is related to leafy greens. This is why you need to start eating big salads. Very, very important. Not just for the folate, but for the minerals and for the vitamin C. Then we have iron, which is essential for your red blood cells. But if you're deficient in iron, that child will not grow correctly. And anemia is a very common thing with kids. Now, one side note I want to make about this topic is that if you're carrying your baby, okay, and you're eating for two, the fetus will get the lion's share of nutrition. So if you're deficient in a nutrient, you're going to become really deficient because that child is going to get pretty much all of that nutrient. So you're going to start seeing symptoms yourself with maybe your hair will start falling out or your nails or whatever. But if you have any of these symptoms, realize it's usually a nutritional deficiency and it means that your diet is not correct. Okay, so then we have zinc, probably one of the most important nutrients behind vitamin D for the immune system. If you're deficient in zinc, the skin will not form correctly. There'll be low testosterone. There's over 2,000 chemical reactions that occur just with this one trace mineral right here. And over 1 billion people on this planet are deficient in zinc. And by the way, if you're eating a lot of refined carbs and whole wheat bread, it's going to deplete your zinc. Sugar depletes zinc. Okay, copper works with zinc. Copper is part of the vitamin C complex, and copper is essential in forming connective tissue, and I'm talking about joints too. So that's really important. And fascia, another part of your connective tissue. Then we have calcium. You want to get your calcium from dairy to help with teeth formation, okay, and bone formation. If you're deficient in vitamin D and you're breastfeeding, the risk factor for getting diabetes type 1, which is autoimmune, go way up. The risk factor for asthma goes way up. The child's skeletal structure may not form correctly. They may have bowed legs or even scoliosis. Then we have vitamin A, okay, which is essential for the vision. Then we have manganese, which is another trace mineral that could potentially lead to flat feet. So as you can see, there's a huge influence on these nutrients and how this baby is being developed. You never want to go low fat if you're breastfeeding or you're pregnant, because there's such a thing as essential fatty acids, omega-3 fatty acids. This is the big one right here, DHA, which is so important to form the brain of that child and the vision. These two right here, very, very important. If you're taking a prenatal, by the way, a lot of times they don't even have this, and they have a bunch of synthetic vitamins, and they have soya in there, and they have very poor quality nutrients. You always want to get a whole food-based prenatal, but you really need to fix the diet as the most important thing. Now, how can you get some of these key trace minerals like selenium, iodine, iron, zinc, copper, manganese? Shellfish, okay? Very, very important. And fish, like in salmon. You want to get the wild caught. It's much better. Cod liver oil, essential. These three things are really important. Cod liver oil will provide enough vitamin D and vitamin A and a DHA. Fish will provide DHA, minerals and protein, and shellfish will provide the trace minerals. You will also get the trace minerals from fish and even organ meats, but a lot of people do not like organ meats. They can't seem to consume liver and things like that. You can get this as a supplement, but you can also go to uswellnessmeats.com. Now, I'm not affiliated with that company. I don't get any kickbacks. I just really like that company because everything is not just grass-fed and organic, but it's grass-finished. And they have a hamburger meat with organ meat in there. And you wouldn't necessarily taste those organ meats. It kind of camouflages the taste. But that would be very, very good to consume if you're breastfeeding or if you're pregnant, because you're going to get the trace minerals, you're going to get all the vitamins and minerals. organ meats pretty much have every single nutrient. Maybe not enough vitamin C, but some of the organ meats do. And that's why you need the salads, right? Large, deep, leafy greens to get the vitamin C and also the minerals like potassium and magnesium. Nutritional yeast is vital for the B vitamins. It's one of the better sources of natural B vitamins. I would not recommend the enriched nutritional yeast. Get the one that's unfortified. You can get them in tablets as well. Eggs has almost every single vitamin except vitamin C, especially the egg yolks. That has the most nutrition. This is very, very important. And just make sure that when you're buying food, it's non-GMO. And I'm talking about organic if at all possible, because you don't want to add the extra chemicals that can add problems like birth defects and all sorts of toxicity in that child. All right, I put a link down below for more information on a good formula that you can create and additional information on other foods that you can eat, but I at least wanted to create the basics and emphasize the importance of the diet and the nutrients before you're pregnant, during pregnancy, and after when you're breastfeeding. Thanks for watching. So if you want more knowledge on how to create a healthy body, subscribe now and get daily notifications.